Good evening. It's Monday, the 2nd of June, and here's what's making news around the world on World News Tonight. Tough stance. Trump doubles down on tariffs as tensions with China and courts escalate. Crisis deepens. Deadly strike at Rafah aid site kills dozens amid ongoing conflict. High stakes. Ukrainian drones destroy Russian bombers ahead of key round of peace talks.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Prashansa Gunawardana.
Good evening once again. Tensions are rising again between the US and China as former President Donald Trump intensifies his tariff stance. A high-stakes phone call with Chinese President Xi is expected soon amid legal battles and renewed trade disputes.
U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping are expected to speak soon on ongoing trade negotiations, according to White House Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. The anticipated phone talks come amid renewed tensions after Trump accused China of breaching a temporary agreement made last month in Geneva. That deal was aimed at easing trade tensions by mutually easing tariffs and trade restrictions. Bessent stressed that China is holding back its exports of rare earth minerals, which are critical for global industrial supply chains. Under the temporary truce, China reduced its tariffs on U.S. imports to 30%, down from the steep 145% level initially imposed in response to Trump's trade measures. Over the weekend, Trump took to his social media platform to say that if the courts somehow rule against the U.S. on tariffs, that would allow other countries to hold the U.S. hostage with their anti-American tariffs. His comments follow the Thursday decision by a federal appeals court to temporarily pause a lower court ruling that had invalidated most of his tariffs. Trump added this would mean the economic ruination of the United States of America. While Trump administration officials say they have other options for imposing tariffs should they ultimately lose the case, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick made it clear there will be no extension to the 90-day pause. Lutnick stated, "Rest assured, tariffs are not going away." On Friday, Trump announced he would double tariffs on steel and aluminum imports from 25% to 50%.
Ukraine has carried out its largest drone strike inside Russian territory, reportedly destroying dozens of military aircraft. The high-impact operation comes as Russia also escalates attacks on Ukraine, just ahead of the next round of peace talks in Istanbul.
Ukraine says it has completed its biggest drone operation within Russian territory, reportedly destroying over 40 military aircraft. On Sunday, June 1st, Ukraine's security service announced the successful execution of Operation Spider's Web, targeting multiple Russian air bases. The operation, which took around 18 months to plan, involved 117 drones. According to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, it damaged 34% of Russia's strategic cruise missile bombers. The attack caused approximately $7 billion in damage. Meanwhile, Russia also launched a significant drone and missile attack on Ukrainian territory overnight on the same day, killing 12 Ukrainian soldiers and injuring over 60 others. All this comes just before the planned second round of peace talks in Istanbul on Monday.
Officials in Boulder, Colorado are investigating a fire attack that left multiple advocates for Israeli hostages injured at Pearl Street Mall. A suspect has been taken into custody.
Boulder police responding to calls of people being set on fire during a peaceful demonstration in support of Israeli hostages.
There's multiple mixed reports about if people are on fire now. We're getting lots of 911 calls.
The group meets regularly and is affiliated with the organization Run for Their Lives. One of their leaders says a man was waiting for them and began throwing a box of bottles at them, saying several people were set on fire, one an elderly woman. These images of a man holding what appears to be 2 Molotov cocktails before being tackled by police. Authorities say they have a suspect in custody. FBI personnel assisting local police on the scene. Director Kash Patel says the agency is investigating the incident as an act of terror and targeted violence. But local police are not going that far, saying it's too early to characterize what kind of attack it is.
Conflicting reports are emerging from Gaza, where dozens of Palestinians were reportedly killed at a relief distribution site. While Palestinian officials blame Israeli fire, both the Israeli military and the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation deny any such attack occurred.
Dozens of Palestinians were reportedly killed and over 100 others injured on Sunday, with the Palestinian Civil Defense saying Israeli soldiers at a relief distribution center run by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation fired at people seeking food and aid. The AFP says 31 people were killed and over 176 injured in Rafah at a relief distribution site run by the United States and Israel. According to the spokesperson for the Civil Defense, Mahmoud Basal, Israel targeted thousands of civilians. Hamas also released a statement saying that Israel committed a terrible massacre targeting thousands of civilians heading to a distribution center. The Associated Press, citing a witness, said that at around 3 a.m., Israeli soldiers ordered the crowd to disperse and come back later. When a crowd began forming about 1 kilometer from the distribution site, they opened fire. Another witness said that at around 5 a.m., drones and tanks suddenly attacked the relief center, killing several people. However, the Israeli military dismissed the reports in a statement, saying that false reports have been circulating that raise serious suspicions that Israeli soldiers have fired on civilians near a humanitarian aid distribution site, calling it false. The Israeli military explained that no civilians were fired at inside or around the distribution center. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation also issued a press release saying that relief supplies were distributed safely and that Hamas is actively spreading rumors about casualties, which they call untrue and fabricated. The GHF announced that it distributed more than 15,000 boxes of relief supplies on Sunday, and that more than 67,000 boxes have been distributed since the site opened last week.
Let's take a short commercial break. More world news right after this. Welcome back. Poland has elected a new president by a razor-thin margin, with Eurosceptic Karol Nawrocki claiming victory. His win could impact EU politics and Ukraine's war efforts as he takes a harder stance on immigration and legislative oversight.
Nationalist opposition candidate Karol Nawrocki has won Poland's presidential election. The country's electoral commission early on Monday had Nawrocki with nearly 51% of the votes, and his rival, Liberal Rafał Trzaskowski, with just over 49%. The results were a whiplash from the night before, when an exit poll had shown Trzaskowski winning by a razor-thin margin, which led the candidate to declare a premature victory.
Zwyciężyliśmy!
The Electoral Commission also said that polls set a record turnout for the second round of a presidential election at around 71%. Nawrocki's win deals a blow to the reform agenda of the pro-European government. The 42-year-old is a Eurosceptic historian who campaigned on a promise to ensure economic and social policies that favor Poles over other nationalities, including refugees from neighboring Ukraine. Nawrocki, who is supported by the Law and Justice Party, is expected to continue the policies of his predecessor, President Andrzej Duda. That includes blocking any attempts by the government to relax restrictions on abortion or reform the judiciary. While Poland's parliament holds most power, the president can veto legislation. The vote has been closely watched in Ukraine as well as Russia, the United States, and across the European Union.
In Nigeria's Niger State, rescue efforts are underway after devastating floods killed at least 200 people and left hundreds missing. Authorities say it's the worst disaster in the region in 60 years as the emergency teams work to provide aid and recover bodies.
In Nigeria's Niger State, rescue operations continued over the weekend after at least 200 people died in flooding caused by torrential rain which hit on Thursday. Emergency services said 500 people were still missing and 3,000 residents were displaced in the market town of Quokka in what is being described as the worst disaster in the area in 6 decades. The National Emergency Management Agency announced on Sunday that it had begun providing relief packages to people affected, and authorities will focus on recovering bodies to prevent potential outbreaks of disease.
US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth met with Australia's Defense Minister Richard Marles in Singapore on Friday. The talks come during a key security forum addressing China's assertiveness, the war in Ukraine, and rising tensions across the Asia-Pacific region.
Australian Defence Minister Richard Marles met with his Singaporean counterpart Chan Chun Sing for talks held on the sidelines of the Shangri-La Dialogue, Asia's leading security summit. The meeting focused on enhancing bilateral defence ties, with both ministers agreeing to deepen cooperation, particularly in areas such as science and technology, according to a statement from Singapore's Ministry of Defence. In addition to the bilateral talks, Marles also paid a courtesy call on Singapore Prime Minister Lawrence Wong. Local media reported the meeting as part of a broader diplomatic engagement during his visit to Singapore for the summit. The Shangri-La Dialogue, hailed from in Singapore, is a major platform that gathers top defense officials, senior military officers, diplomats, weapons manufacturers, and security analysts from around the world. It serves as a key forum for addressing regional security issues and strengthening international defense relationships.
Wildfires in Western Canada are sending smoke across the US, triggering air quality warnings in the upper Midwest. Health officials are urging vulnerable groups to stay indoors, as meteorologists warn the smoke could reach as far as south as Oklahoma.
Hazy skies over millions of people from Duluth to Des Moines. For parts of North Dakota and Minnesota, officials telling residents to keep windows closed overnight to prevent smoke from getting indoors, and if possible, run central air conditioning.
It's a big fire, so it's pretty bad.
The massive wildfires burning hundreds of thousands of acres, prompting the U.S. to deploy more than 150 firefighters and air tankers to help battle the flames. The smoke now making its way into the south just days after tornadoes ripped through. An EF2 touched down in Kentucky, according to the National Weather Service, killing one person and injuring at least 14. And another tornado in Henry County, Georgia, injuring 2. Officials there now changing the county's severe weather alert system after several residents said they didn't hear the outdoor sirens or get warnings on their phones until after the tornado hit. Neighboring states getting heavy rain and wind, now bracing for hurricane season, officially starting today.
Let's take a short commercial break. More world news right after this. Welcome back. A group of teenagers on their way home from junior prom is being praised for their quick thinking after spotting a house fire in New York. The actions helped save a family by alerting them as flames tore through their garage.
Those desperate knocks at the door as a fire rages steps away, coming from high school junior Aiden Kane.
Your house is on fire! Your house is on fire!
As the teens got closer, they saw a garage engulfed in flames.
As soon as we jumped out of the car, I called 911 instantly.
You guys gotta get out. Yo, get out. Come on, get out. You guys...
2 girls and their dad were inside the home. After Aiden's plea, they followed him outside.
You're okay. You're okay. Yo, stand behind your car. Stand behind your car.
What started as one of the best days of the teens' lives.
Anyone else in there? Nope.
Ended with helping strangers on their worst. It's in Aiden's DNA.
My dad has worked for both EMS and police department for basically all his life. I've been on several calls with him because he was the chief of EMS, and sometimes when I'm with him, we just got to go on it, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, like, seeing him doing it kind of inspired me to help out the family.
But all 4 played a role.
If we didn't go, what would have happened with the fire if we weren't there?
Now, this cell phone video of the fire is saved on the same camera roll with prom night memories.
A tiny Australian island is drawing global attention, not for its beaches but for its smiling residents. Quokkas, the adorable marsupials, have become social media stars, helping boost tourism and conservation efforts for these endangered species.
Just off Australia's west coast in the Indian Ocean lies Rottnest Island, home to unspoiled wilderness, pristine beaches, and the quokka, Around 10,000 of these furry creatures live on the tiny island. They're cousins of the kangaroo, but stand only around 20 inches tall. And because they seem to be smiling, quokkas have become a sensation. Known as the world's happiest animals. Quokka selfies have gone viral, including snaps by celebrities like Roger Federer, Margot Robbie and Logan Paul. Scientists say quokkas are naturally curious and have adapted to being around tourists. On the Australian mainland, quokkas are threatened by wildfires and feral cats. But on the island, they're almost ridiculously relaxed, even falling asleep outside this cafe on the island's main shopping street. The quokkas do lead a privileged existence. It's forbidden to feed or touch them, and they even have right of way on the roads. They're a conservation success story, with demand for selfies fueling the tourism that helps fund their protection.
And with that, we come to the end of today's edition of World News Tonight. With the hopes of seeing you again, I'm Prashansa Gunawardana. And we leave you tonight with the visuals of the crowning moment of Miss World Pageant 2025. Also, don't forget to send us your feedback through email at feedback.ad24english@derana.lk or via WhatsApp at 076-805-7933. Stay tuned as I will be joining you shortly. Thank you for watching us and have a good night.